That single page is just showing you where the fund balance currently is. And the second one is the same document you've seen before that shows where we are revenues versus expenses. Based on someone's tax increase and how much we would have to continue to cut.
Hello everyone, thank you for joining us tonight. This is a budget workshop by what's called the BEA, and it's comprised of the President of Common Council, the Treasurer, and myself. This is a workshop that we've had several of, and it is a chance for us to go through all budget issues from all departments within the city of Hudson and review where we are and try to get to a reasonable number to present to both the Common Council and the citizens of Hudson. So with that said, thank you for being here, but this will be a conversation between the three of us. My assistant Brand is here to make notes and bring some, she has some information behind.
I'm not sure I agree with that.
What's, oh, Brandon?
Yeah.
Oh, she's taking notes. She takes
But we're going to exclude the public.
Oh, that's fine.
Okay. Nothing personal. But you're not part of the BEA.
No, I said the BA was you, myself, and the treasurer.
Okay.
All right, so we currently, if you would just tell us, Heather, where we stand with everything as of tonight.
Right now, if we are willing to take a 5% tax increase, and if we were willing to take $378,000 out of use of fund balance, which is potentially risky, we would still need to cut $298.4 thousand out of the budget, or find some additional revenues.
And a 5% tax, just for historical purpose, what was last year's tax increase?
3.5.
3.5%, and the year before that, if you recall, 2%, and it was predominantly flat for the previous few years under the old budget. 1 to 1.5. And a 5% tax increase on the citizens of Hudson after, that's compared to historic where we've been. Alrighty, so the total number now is what? 11.
Yeah, just the last on the page, so 11.8 million, basically expenditures.
All right, so currently we're sitting at $11.8 million against a budget last year of 11.170. Actual 2017.
11.1, yeah.
11.1. So we're $700,000 over last year's level. And the only new revenue we've experienced as a city, I mean, there's various revenues, but the new revenue stream is just the lodging tax.
That won't be new in 2019. We would have had it for all of 2018 already. So.
Okay, so there's no new revenue.
Having said that, though, if you want to talk about revenue, I did spend the last couple of days really looking at revenue again. And I think, and obviously we all have to agree on this, but I think that we can possibly up a couple of them. I think we can up the sale of tax acquired property, because if we do get that property back, and I think we will, I'm pretty sure that based on what it auctioned for the last time, that we could probably net 100,000 off of it, and we currently have 50 in there, so I would be reasonably comfortable raising that to 100.
What line is that?
That is fifth line down on the revenues thing, gain from sale of tax acquired property.
So currently at 50?
Yep.
And you said you would up that how much?
I think we could up it to 100, because I think if we do get the property and we're able to sell it, we would, once we pay off all the delinquent taxes, I think we can net 100 on it.
think, Tom?
Sure.
Okay, so we all in agreement to make that change? I'm actually waiting for the software to load, so I'm in no rush to get it. Change it now. Okay, so are we agreed on that?
On which part?
Adding
Increasing that by
$50,000.
$50,000.
What line?
The gain through sale of tax acquired property.
Sure.
Okay. Move that change. That was 50. It's going from 50 to 100. The other thing of note is I took a look at the last 5 quarters of sales tax contribution, and I think we can probably take that up another 50 grand as well.
Great.
That's fantastic.
Okay, are you comfortable with that?
Yeah. Any other revenue increases?
Maybe parking tickets?
That's kind of iffy. But our trend is parking tickets were at 300,000. Budgeted at 232 this year. Adjusted to 275. Which is reflective of having a full force of parking enforcement officers.
I mean, it's been averaging, over the last 6 months, it's been averaging somewhere between like low 20s to high 20s. So there's probably 5 we could put into that. I mean, increase it by 5, just to give us something.
I think that's risky.
Okay.
Which is my opinion. Anything else?
No.
So that's $100,000 in new revenue that we've just agreed to for the city to offset. So how does that help us on a bottom line?
Well, again, if we're sticking with those 2 assumptions in terms of the use of fund balance and having a 5% tax increase, that would take us down to having to cut $278.4 thousand.
Right, so, we need to cut $298?
This, and Tom, it's at the top of the,
Right here.
yeah, if you see the 3 bars across the top? So that last column where it says he needs to cut, that's how much we need to cut.
Right.
So it's 298 now, it would take it down to 198.4.
And the last year's fund balance was
408, I believe, but we had a significantly higher fund balance last year than we do now.
How much of this year's fund balance have we spent?
That's what that sheet is in front of you, the one-pager sheet. So basically, we started with, I'm not even sure I have, can I borrow that one back? So we started the year with 3.5 million in unassigned fund balance, which is 32%. The fund balance policy is to try and remain between 25 and 35%. Because of the nature of how certain weird things work, like when we have either money that's set aside for a project or grant matches, that stuff drops to the bottom line and then has to get taken back out again. So the 3.5 million immediately dropped to 3 million because we had $500,000 of commitments that included the LWRP completion, street maintenance equipment match, Foster's refrigeration, the bike path, done building project, Promenade Park ramp, miscellaneous donations that dropped and had to be carried over because they carry over from year to year, the CAC consultant, fire department donations. So all of that, which is already committed, is another $500,000. So that took us down to basically 3.0. And then from that point in time, throughout the year, we've taken another $280,000 out of the fund balance. Which brings us, at this point, if revenues and expenses came in exactly even for 2018, that would bring our fund balance down to 2.8 million, which is just under the 25% that we're supposed to be maintaining.
And the 25% is a resolution by the Common Council to maintain a 25% or higher?
Yep.
Okay.
Now, of course, what we don't know is what final revenues and expenditures will be, and to the extent that revenues are higher than expenditures, that will add to the unassigned fund balance. So we are in effect, by saying that we're going to be able to take $380,000 out, we're basically assuming / hoping that there will be a positive result at the end of 2018 and that revenues are higher than expenses. So unfortunately, there's a bit of a lag because obviously we don't know that until many months into the next year. So it's potentially a risk, but I think it's
a risk that's...
I think it's a risk we kind of have to take in this point, frankly.
And the need to cut the 298.4, what did that $100,000 that we just agreed to in revenue, how does that adjust that?
Takes down $100,000. Yep.
So it's 198.4 now.
Yep.
Okay. Alrighty. Just quickly, the police. Has that been heading adjustments from yesterday?
No.
All right, I had a conversation with the police chief yesterday, who has agreed to take $50,000 out, and I'm not sure exactly what that. Well, I know. I mean, what is that actual number from his budget?
It is. I've got it here somewhere. Yeah, that personnel cut is $56,017.
All right, so he 56.7. Thumbs out.
I assume you're okay with that, Tom?
The police will, of course.
Okay.
All right, so just a quick, and you don't have the percentages here. I would say it out loud so everyone can hear what each department is looking at, but we won't have to get into that yet. We'll do that during the regular presentations. The city of Hudson, as we know, has experienced a large increase in several different, just amongst us, several different ways this going into next year. One was the increase for the fire department. And then we get into, we had some additional raises this year. I think we're all very happy to announce that we're doing a $15 a raise for the citizens, for the workers of the city of Hudson. And I think that's a very good statement. But all this costs money, and at the end of the day, with pensions, insurance, retirement, hospitalization, and insurance, we're looking at significant increases in those worlds. So we have gone through every department several times, and tonight let's just start with our youth department and see where we stand. We're currently at a 50% increase.
58.
Over what?
Over last year's
original budget.
Original budget.
Original budget, not the adjusted budget.
46% over the adjusted budget.
So last year's original budget was
370,000.
and the grand total this year is
585, I think.
yeah 580.
The adjusted budget compared to the proposed budget, according to this page, is only 27%.
Yeah, that's because we included the grants in that total, which shouldn't be included because they carry over regardless. So you really just have to look at the original budget and then whatever budget amendments that weren't grants and donations were included. Because those grants will be added to this budget next year.
So yeah, 310,791 is the original budget from last year. 370, I'm sorry, that was personnel. And this year we're looking at 584.6. Do we all agree on that?
Yep.
All right, 584.6. And the increases go from personnel services from 310,000, 311,000 to $395,000.
No, it's actually more. It's 395 plus 12 plus 5 because it's broken out into 3 different categories. So that is.
Second here.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'll speak louder. Didn't realize. $413,000.
So 310 for $100,000 additional. And that includes both Third Street. I'm sorry.
Personnel services or what?
413,000 from 311. And that's both, that's all, right? Everything?
Mm-hmm.
Oakdale and 3rd Street. Okay. The next is, does that include lifeguards?
Yes.
All right. So the next category we'd be looking at is equipment.
Mm-hmm.
So equipment, last year was 5.5, this year requested 43.5. Is that the number we still agree with, that we're sitting with?
I have 42.0. I don't know why I have to be down
I mean, I'm just using this.
Oh, I think we made some minor adjustments because there were things categorized incorrectly. Yeah, they were, remember we took out the supply and put them back into the proper supply accounting code.
So what is that total in equipment?
42,042.
42. Equipment Oakdale. There was no budget last year, and this year 14,000.
It is now 11.4, again for the same reason.
Adjustments.
Just moving supplies back to the supplies lines and taking them out of equipment, that's all.
Okay.
So you're now going to have the same amount of money where it says 0 in supplies, you're going to have amounts there.
Next, concession. Nothing this, no, it's all printing and advertising. What is that? Printing and advertising. 2,000 last year, 2,000 this year. Telephone and internet, 5.5. This year, 5.5. Is there any change?
No, it's not 5.5, that was an error on the spreadsheet as well, it was 8,200, which has been changed in here.
Okay, so I'm just, what do you, oh, it's changed in there.
Yeah.
All right, so what is the telephone in there? It was 5.5 last year, what is it this year?
8,200.
8.2. Maintenance of equipment, 15.4 last year. This year, 33.1.
27,183. I think he changed it more recently. Yeah.
So 27.2.
That was in his most recent.
And that is then maintenance of Oakdale equipment. None last year, 27.2 this year.
That's what we were just talking about, wasn't it?
No, I have maintenance equipment here, 15.4 after 33.1.
Oh, sorry, I missed that one. Hold on. Yeah, 33,124 and then 27,183.
Right, so that number did not change. 27.2. Other, there's nothing. Light and heat, 16,000, 2018 budget, this year 18.5. Is that still true?
Yes.
Okie dokie. Youth program, 9.8 last year or 6.8?
$6.8.
6.8 and this year 16.9. Youth safety, 2,000, a 2.1.
Yeah.
There's nothing last year. So the bottom line of everything is 370 last year and 584.6 this year.
Right.
All right.
My system keeps crashing, I apologize.
Okay.
So, where do you want to start?
Personnel. We have gone in personnel from 310,000 to 361 points. Wait, no, I'm sorry, that's wrong.
413.
To 413,000. The large increases were that, there is a new level 4 rec attendant, 41.6. And then for the most part, because of the $15 an hour salary increases, and any other extraordinary changes in that?
There was an increase in hours for one of the employees.
Which one?
A number of them. All ones.
Oh, that's right, and it's hard to compare this to the original budget because some changes have been made this year that were not part of the original budget. And the position of level 4 rec attendant is, from what we have discovered, is more of a rec supervisor position versus a rec attendant, and that would require civil service. And why that dollar number is up from the agreed to level 4 rec attendants, so suggesting that we take that level 4 rec attendant down to the other equivalent level 4 rec attendant.
I mean, I think that makes sense too also because if at some point in time we are able to bring in a rec attendant,
A rec super,
a rec supervisor,
right?
then that obviously would have to be at a salary that was somewhere between the director's salary and a rec level 4 salary. So I think the $20 is appropriate for a recreational supervisor's salary, potentially.
Okay, and in general, just quickly going with the director's full-time, a clerk, is that ultimately a full-time? Currently it's part-time.
Legally,
It's part-time.
unless we want to hire somebody off the current civil service list, which I don't think we do. I mean, that's ultimately not my call, but I know there's somebody in the position, and I know we would all like to keep her. But legally, she can only work half-time.
I understand. And that is a civil service issue.
That is correct.
The cleaner is currently at 16,
Mhm.
and it's being taken up to 17.
Mhm.
Suggest we keep it at 16 to make him full-time next year.
Yes.
Is that all right?
Wait,
Level,
so wait, because we're sort of running through them, but I'm not sure if we have consensus on all of them, because if we do, I just want to
was,
make them while we're doing it.
yeah,
because
make
otherwise
it.
I'm gonna
So
get
Tom, do
confused.
you agree with that?
Yeah, I think so.
16 at full-time?
The cleaner full-time, yes.
Yeah.
Okay, and what about the rec attendant for?
Are we all right taking that 17 at full-time?
I mean, I think
That's
we have
what
to
we
give
It's
her.
currently-
a civil service issue, so I don't, that's not really, I'm relying on your being accurate.
Well, I mean,
I'll say
all I'm
yes.
saying is that
I'll say yes.
okay,
All right, so we're level, all right, so we agreed on that.
okay, hold on. I'm just gonna listen. But also a full-time position though, right?
Yes. So both level 4 rec attendants are full-time positions. 52 hours,
As is the cleaner.
right, the cleaner is full-time.
Right.
Are both level 4 at 17?
Yes.
Okay.
Level 2 rec attendants, we have 2 at 15, working 15 hours a week, 15 hours a week. Wait, what is this? Yeah, 2 level 2 rec attendants, level 1 rec attendants at $15, 40 weeks. See any changes to that? I don't. Level 2 rec attendants, we have 2 at both at $15. One works 15 hours a week, the other works 30 hours a week. Are we all right with that?
Yes. That's what it's.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Level 2 rec attendant, how many level 2 rec attendants are there? I'm
Well,
sorry.
the thing we also have to be aware of
Yes.
is that if they are going to be working 30 hours year-round, we're going to have to offer them health insurance. So we just have to make sure that that happens.
What are these people currently working at an hourly wage? Mark, do you know?
Their wage?
No, how many, hang on a second.
You asking me how many hours on average they're working?
Yes,
They're working 3 to 9 every day.
3 to 9 every day.
One works 2:30 to 9, one works 3 to 9.
Yeah, because we have like level 2 rec attendants, Nikki, there's 1, 2, 3, just 3, right? Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. So the bill, they have been planned, I think, at 27 and a half.
From last year, you mean?
Yes.
I don't remember, to be honest with you.
We should budget now, got that spreadsheet that I did somewhere. Well, this was before the 15 was put in place. For one level 2 rec attendant working 24 hours at $12.50, one rec attendant level 2 24 hours at $12.50, and one level 2 rec attendant at $14 an hour. So one at 14 and the other two at at $12.50 an hour. And everybody's been increased to $15 an hour now. But the hours were 24 level 2, 24 and 24. So that must have changed. And we were actually, no, that budget was taken out. So one at 15, so 24, 24, 24. I don't know how the 24 hours was decided last year. I'm sure it was done as a part-time, to make sure that it was part-time. So the conversation is, do we want to up the hours from last year's budget of 24 to this year's request at level 2 rec attendants, one at 15 and 2 at 30 and at 30 hours a week?
Yes.
Heather?
I'd say leave it for now and let's see where we end up.
I'm fine with that.
Okay.
Level 3 rec attendants, one at $16, 30 hours a week, 42, 6. Last year was budgeted at 15 hours a week, and we've increased that by twice, and I think we get our bang for our buck there. So I don't know why level 3, we had like 2 level 3s last year, both at 15 hours, both at $16. And this year we only have one.
I definitely think those are important hours.
I couldn't agree more, and I'm totally supportive of that. Level 3 rec attendant, are we okay at 30 hours at 16 on that one?
Yep.
Tom?
Excuse me, yes.
Alrighty, level 4 we've talked about. Saturday. This Saturday we have 4 people, $15 an hour, 6 a week. And last year we had 4 people at $12 an hour, $12 an hour, 8 hours each. And that last year was, it's interesting, that's interesting. I have that total of 19.6. Is the math right on that?
I don't know, from this machine I'm not sure, but I mean,
Well, I'm sure.
I think we want to leave it in, so I'm not sure. Unless you disagree, but
No.
so I don't think we have to worry so much about it if we're not going to.
Okay, that does the youth department.
What have we changed in this column?
Just the level rec 4.
No,
Right.
cleaner. So we've taken,
Cleaner to 16, and we're only giving the level rec 4, which is
17.
why?
That's what it is, and that's what it's called for, that's what's been turned in.
By what? By what standard?
Oh, I thought that's what we were talking about before when you said the thing about civil service.
Oh,
So,
So why don't we leave that open?
That's within the guidelines of what we report to civil service.
well, let's be very clear what the situation is. We have one rec level 4 currently, who makes $17 an hour. There was a proposal to add another rec level 4, but to pay $20 an hour. It turned out that rec level 4 position was actually pretty much a mirror image of the civil service title of recreation supervisor. So, being a recreation supervisor,
Which is what's needed, right?
Yeah.
Or not?
That's civil service, that requires civil service
I understand that.
testing.
But that's not what we're arguing. I mean, you're making the case that it's a civil service requirement, but we're talking about the budget. So if we find out that that's not the case and we need somebody at 20 an hour, I'm not sure I follow you. I mean,
so I guess the question you're saying is, should we have another rec level 4, or should we actually have a rec supervisor? That's the question we're
well,
asking.
those are the yeah, I guess. I mean, I don't know. I'm not the one.
Well, we're just dealing with what was presented to us, and we had
Right.
presentation.
Right. I understand. What do you mean by
This
civil
budget?
service? Oh, yeah, by Nick.
Yeah.
Okay. Right.
So, I mean, I think that is the question on the table. Either we need a rec attendant
I
for,
understand. My point is, though, it's not a question we can answer in a budget situation. We need a ruling from the civil service.
no, there's no ruling from the civil service. I don't understand.
But you're saying they define these jobs.
They don't define, we
Service.
define the job, what we're trying to do, and that's what was defined. And it was a position that we were given on what this job description is for a level 4 rec attendant. Civil service said this is more like this is like a rec supervisor, so you would have to change the position. And based upon the job description. And is this correct? In the job description, which is anyone can do, make that decision.
They have said that. I don't see that. You have the documents? I mean, I have to rely on your word for that.
Well,
Do you have the rec supervisor job description?
Again, you're missing my point.
No, you're asking for description. So what we're going to show you is the description that was submitted as part of the budget for, just defined as a rec level 4. And then we're going to show you what the actual civil service rec supervisor job description is. And you can look at both of them and come to your own conclusion as to whether or not the current description for the new rec attendant 4 is in fact a rec attendant job or a recreational supervisor job. And if it's a rec, see the difference is that...
I understand what you're saying completely. What I don't understand is, I'm not the one who has to make that decision. You're saying civil service is making that decision about how the job conforms or doesn't conform to the description that they provide, right?
What I'm saying is that the description that was provided as part of the youth budget...
Right, I got it.
So then I'm not sure...
Reads similar to another description provided by civil service.
Reads almost exactly.
Almost exactly, I get that.
Okay.
I got that from the beginning.
Right.
What I don't understand is,
that's the new position. This is the rec supervisor.
right,
And this is rec attendant.
okay. You're asking me to make a decision about how to define this job. That's not what I'm here for.
No.
I'm here to decide whether that line should exist.
I understand that, but we were talking about whether or not we would reduce the salary. And
I know, but I'm saying I can't decide that until I understand exactly what the job is.
Which means we need to determine...
No, we don't. This is determined by civil service. And whoever is, I don't even know who's youth director right now. Oh, it's
I will take this moment to say something. Today, the Commissioner of Youth and myself had to make a very difficult decision. And it's a decision based upon what, over the past year, to determine what the needs of the youth department are. This meeting is a meeting for the President, the Treasurer, and myself to go over all budget issues, all questions, and we get into all aspects of personnel, everything else. It is the policy of the City of Hudson not to discuss personnel issues that have transcribed. We can discuss budgets and but not specific people. So with that said, a very tough decision was made. Mark Bryant, the Youth Commissioner, is remaining as the Youth Commissioner, and he is responsible right now for the youth budget. I am very, we have tried to accommodate. No one has been fired. There's been changes. We've reorganized, and we will continue to reorganize the youth department as we see fit. So that's all, the only statement I'll make on that. Thank you all. But this is not a question and answer. I appreciate your enthusiasm. I appreciate your support. Ultimately, I hope your understanding. But our job is to get this budget done, within the means, and to be able to present to the citizens of the Hudson a budget that they can live with.
Your job is also to be accountable to the people of this community.
There's no communication tonight. I'm sorry.
Just filling in on your job.
How's it possible to make decisions about the youth department unless you ask
Peter, we will
people
have,
that are
we will
running the
have
youth
every year,
department
we have a session
what
that
they
we
need to
present to
do?
the citizens of Hudson on the city budget. That everyone's invited to, the city's invited to, where the budget is presented in total.
When I say budgets in the past, you ask the people that know most about it what their needs are to run the department or to run the program. You can't fire somebody and then proceed to do a budget without anybody knowing what's going on.
Thank you. The youth commissioner is here. He's been part of for almost 6 months now. He's very aware of what's going on.
Why is he in the audience?
And with that said, with no more, thank you, no more conversations from the audience. This is a chance for us to have a workshop and to come to a general budget agreement for the city of Hudson. Again, the budget is always presented to the community for your input, your comments, and that will happen, I believe, on the 14th of November.
Is it presented before it's voted on or after?
I'm sorry, it's presented before it's voted on. It's presented to the Common Council in a workshop. Then it's presented to the citizens of Hudson in a public meeting, a public hearing. Please attend that. At that point, you know, every department will have their finalized budget as we see it, and then the Common Council will ultimately have a vote on it.
Let's be clear, though, that the budget, nothing can be added to the budget during those stages.
We can just say
Only
yes
cuts.
or no.
Yeah, thank
Just
you.
want to make that clear.
Thank you.
But y'all shouldn't take nobody's job away. That man was doing a good job. I was just sitting home and 5
And that I
11-year-olds.
thank you, but we're not here to
I
have a
don't
conversation.
whatever, but you shouldn't take his job away. He had it's the holidays and stuff that come. I had 5
And that,
11-year-olds come down there crying because Nick lost his job.
That's right.
I was born and raised there.
Nick still has a job.
No, he don't. They say he has.
He has a job. That's the miscommunication,
Not in
Nick.
the same
Nick,
capacity.
Nick, I'm
have
shut
a
up.
job.
You tell me
Director of the
job.
Youth Center?
No. Do you have a
That's the
job?
answer.
Do you have a job?
Do
Were
you have
you
a job?
offered another position?
As a rec assistant.
As a
Yes.
rec
Did you accept that position?
As a staff.
What kind of
He's
job?
not acting the youth in the same way. And it clearly affects the city. So
You fired him hours before this budget hearing. How is that not intentional?
I'm just saying, next, none of the kids ain't gonna have nowhere to go if we don't stick together.
that's right. That's true.
I was born and raised here. I'm sick of this. You don't think the kids are going to do what they gonna do? Then what they gonna do? All locked up in jailhouse because there ain't gonna be nowhere for the kids to go. Take me home, man. I gotta go. Come on, you ready? Yeah, I'm ready to go. I gotta go. Because I'm telling the truth. I need to be the mayor. They do these kids wrong here. They did me wrong for section out. And now they doing him wrong for his job. They need him in there. I'm trying to my grandson's crying about this. I've been born and raised here. This is my town. Why everybody come here trying to take it away? Next to the kids ain't gonna have nowhere to go. I'm gonna have to put them in my little 1-bedroom so they can play basketball. It ain't gonna be nothing for the youth no more because y'all taking it all away. I can't shop in here. Why do y'all do people so wrong? I was born and raised here. This is my town. Stop taking from people. Stop low-grading people all the time. We're already suffering. These kids is gonna suffer because of y'all with your budget. Budget this, budget that, budget that. That man needed his job that he had. Don't take his job away from him. Rick, don't take his job away from me. It's killing me. I didn't even want to come up here because I know I was gonna get in a rage. And I don't care about what none of y'all say about me. I might don't go to the boys club, but a lot of people don't like me because of this mouth. But y'all gonna have to take me out. Y'all better get that man his job back that he had. Don't put him as something that he don't need to be. He needs his job. I had 5 young boys come there, 11-year-old. Ned, please go up there, Grandma. The other boy's scared because I'm looking crazy. So I'm running this man down so I don't have to walk up here. I would probably been out of breath. But y'all always, now this is my 2nd time, had to come up here and get in the rage. And the more I ain't gonna finna go put nothing on Facebook because I don't need it. I am the truth. I was born and raised here, and this is my town. And I'm telling y'all with y'all budgets, I'm telling y'all taking people's jobs, and I am telling y'all taking over Columbia County. You know why I can't get mad? Because I'm in the ninth grade, and I'm hyper, and I'm bugging, but I bet you ain't got no police record. And you know why I won't never get to be mayor? Because I'm going to give the poor every single dime y'all got.
Mayor Rector, I've spent the past 2 days taking a portrait series at the youth center, and to see the bridge that this man is to those kids, to see that the building is dated, it's a time warp into the 80s. They don't receive the funding that they already deserve. It's already a place and a platform where they choose to make the decision to step in there after school and to continue what they love to do within sports. They don't have all the equipment, they don't have all the resources, but what they do have is someone with a real heart and a real voice that has love for them. And to take him out of the position, I've seen him just in the past 2 days, what those children mean to him, and it's huge. And what if you would do that to this town, you do that to this community, you do that to this state. That's a position that is a bridge, and we can't take that out.
The position he takes gives him more access to the streets.
That is you know what you're doing.
Please, he's a bridge. He's a bridge, and in the budget that this town.
Is this a budget issue?
The budget's not the issue.
No, is his position a budget issue?
No.
So
What is the issue?
The people that he
It's the
served
policy of
here.
the city not to comment on personnel issues. I'm sorry.
The people he served are here are telling you
That speaks
they
a lot
want
to
him where
his
he needs to
character that
be.
he's here.
And I came straight from the youth center.
I thank you all very much for being here.
But
This is a budget workshop. This is nothing about personnel. It is a budget
that's because
workshop.
we have no
concerns we
opportunity
address
for
them?
us to address those concerns
I
about the
said we
personnel.
have a budget workshop. If you want to come see me about personnel issues.
Why can't we
We're
discuss
seeing
this
right
now?
Because this is a BEA workshop. It's legally, we're supposed to have this. We have it. It is not open for public conversation. Again, I'm thrilled you all are here to listen, to observe.
Is his position that he is no
It
longer
is not a public
still in the
conversation.
budget?
It is a conversation
Is it
for the
still in the
members of
budget
this.
to be filled by somebody else?
I move that we
Okay,
make
so
a-
it still exists. So then where can our concerns about this person be expressed and heard?
Second?
So that we don't have to disturb this meeting any longer.
Give us a time and a place and a hearing for the public to state how they feel about your decisions and the impacts it's making on Hudson youth and Hudson families.
What about tomorrow?
We'll show up.
And that's what
I will.
whole Hudson show over.
I am going to be as honest as I can be with everybody in this room. This is one of the toughest decisions that we've had to make, that I've had to personally make, and there are reasons for it. I was elected to run the city as CEO. Would you please just let me finish? I'm sorry. And I was elected by the city of Hudson. Yes, I did run unopposed. That was not my choice. I would have run against anybody. But as the mayor, elected to make decisions and do what I thought was best for all citizens of Hudson. That was obviously a major part of the decision. Again, I'm not going to comment. I like Nick as a person. This is not about personalities. It is about the running of the youth department and the best way to run it. Period. So that's all I will say about this. As far as another format, I guess the next meeting of the youth committee would possibly be the format for that. I don't have the date in front of me on that. We can certainly, the youth committee, the common council is open to the public for conversation. But again, a very, very difficult decision, a decision that I took very seriously, a decision that our commissioner of the youth department who came in 6 months ago brought a lot of it to my attention, and that's
He's also been saying that the youth center been getting very well since they've been in his position, so I don't see what the problem is.
As the chair of the youth committee, I just want to say that I was not privy to this
reorganization. So for people to come to the youth committee, I don't know how that would be of any assistance to them, especially because you don't sit on that committee.
No,
And
I
think
attend the meetings, well.
you attend, but if they're directing their concerns to you, it should be a format where you have to speak directly to them, not me.
Will the youth commissioner be at the meeting?
I don't know, you gotta ask him.
The youth commissioner will be at the meeting. He will be representing the youth department.
I've attended the past several meetings of this BEA about the youth department budget. And in each of those meetings, the youth department director and the commissioner were giving input into your discussions and answering questions. And I don't understand how you can have this meeting without the expertise or the history of the youth department director or the youth department commissioner to answer these kinds of questions that are being asked and debated. And also, I have to say that at the very least, the optics of removing Nick from his position as youth department director on the very day, hours before this final meeting of the BEA about the youth department budget reeks.
Yes.
From a person who has a great deal of respect and has supported you in the past. But this decision makes no sense. And it's really transparent that this was an effort to reduce the budget and have no one here to comment or to advocate for these questions that you're asking right here at this meeting.
Can I not? Sure. Let me affirm what Ann Rosenthal has said. I was hoping to say that myself. This last minute, you're encouraged to come to other meetings, but what you don't know is this is the final BEA meeting. This is the final hour. You can't amend things after this meeting. To wait until the final hour or near the final hour to make a sudden change in personnel, which is completely and utterly the mayor's prerogative. As Ann said, it smells fishy.
It is the commissioner of youth's prerogative and myself.
Commissioner of youth who
and
answers you.
And Tom, it has nothing to do with the timing of the budget.
You just lost the trust of everyone here. If you lie to us, then nobody's going to trust you right now. Just be honest.
I'm being as honest as I can. It has nothing to do with...
You're too smart for that.
Well, I'm not lying. I'm telling you the very truth. This is not about our budget.
Then why are you undermining the youth center?
I'm not undermining the youth center. I was elected to do what I think is the best for the city of Hudson and all departments.
It's not always right.
That was
No.
They ran out.
And that's what happens. You want to call it?
Is the youth director position still in this year's budget?
Yes.
So it's not a position, it's a position that will be filled so the money's there, so it's not a money issue.
No, it's not a money issue.
Oh,
Who decides who will fill that? Single-handedly, the commissioner decides. Is that correct? And the mayor.
Yeah, no, there is still the director of youth. That's part of the budget and part of the budget next year. That's not being taken away. We're not cutting the budget for that reason.
So when you say something about the timing of this, I mean, what it does, I mean, it's just really clear that it has all sorts of, suspiciousness.
It's not like the police department making a decision not to hire another person. I mean, it's just, this all happens during...
No, but everybody knows
completely
that this budget has been in question. But
this has nothing to do with... I'm not cutting out the director of youth.
No, but you're getting rid of the person who has been advocating for this budget.
And the commissioner is advocating for it as well. So the application is still in place.
Why is he not up there with you guys?
Because this is not how the BEA works. This is a BEA meeting.
Well,
And
why
candidly,
In previous
And
BEA
candidly, we have gone through the youth to budget twice. So we have a general idea, a very good understanding of every element within the youth to budget. So we really don't need a lot of conversation from either the commissioner. You know, Nikki's brought some, and if I had a question, I would certainly ask Nick, who's sitting here.
Okay, in that regard, can I ask Nick why that position should be $20 instead of $17? The Rec 4, and how did you define that, and why, what's the issue? I don't quite understand.
Well, I think that what we could say, just to move past all the civil service confusion, is that whatever that position is called, whatever makes civil service happy, we obviously have to abide by their standards. That's fine, we'll do whatever it takes to make them happy, but leaving that position at $20 an hour for a role that has a lot of responsibilities, a lot of duty, a lot of skill associated with it is pretty important, because otherwise it's going to be hard to attract the right people for a pretty important role in the department.
Thank you.
Okay, so Tom, let me just put that in perspective.
Sure.
The description that was provided.
I understand.
No.
You're saying, it's just saying the same thing again.
No, I need to finish the thought.
Okay.
If we're leaving that position in there with that salary, with that job description that was provided, that by definition has to become a rec supervisor, and that means we have to hire off a list, and that list exists. That's all I'm saying. So, you know, and I would probably turn to Mark and say, do you want a rec supervisor at $20 an hour that matches the civil service description that was provided with a different title, or do you want a rec level attendant 4, which obviously wouldn't have all of those skill sets and capabilities?
Is that the job you just offered, Nick? That sounds like the job you just offered Nick.
Well, now we're having a discussion, because if it's going to be a rec supervisor, then it has to be hired off the list.
And it has to be someone, he's not on that list?
Correct. So that's why I'm saying it should be a rec level 4, because that makes it.
Mark.
The rec level 4 at $20. Nick and I had discussed that, and that's where we wanted it to be. Because the position is a hole in the department that we were looking to fill. So that's where I would like to keep it.
But you're talking about the program.
No, it's the program coordinator.
That is what.
Whatever you want. But it's still a level 4.
Doesn't matter.
Yeah,
But
it's called.
But it legally can't be. It just can't, legally it just can't be.
Well, we can decide that later. Let's budget the position and then get an actual legal finding. That's all I've been saying.
So
You're
back to,
presenting
you want to
it
keep
as a
it at
done
20?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, because that was just the conversation we had earlier, 17 or 20, we said 17, so no one objected to 20. If you want to keep it at 20, it's fine.
We're obviously going to have this conversation later, because it's a complicated civil service thing, and if Tom is understanding it, then
Right, now I'm not understanding.
You're
right, I'm not.
Right, exactly, so it
Because
obviously.
I think you're
require
obfuscating it and deliberately.
I absolutely am not. Tom, there is a job description in civil service. It is called rec supervisor. That description, word for word, was taken, and then the title was changed to a non-civil service job. That is not appropriate behavior. That's
By your definition.
by civil service law definition.
I would like to see that civil service law. That's all I've ever been saying here. What's the problem with that? I understand what you're saying. I'm not an idiot.
I guess I'm frustrated that because I sat with civil service and they told me this, that you are not actually willing to believe my point of view, but that's fine.
Well,
That's
other
absolutely
people have sat with civil service also, including this.
That will all, exactly.
And that's why I'm not,
Exactly right.
I'm not favoring you or him. I would like to see a document that says and backs up what you're claiming. That's all.
Let's set up a meeting and we'll go to civil service together.
I mean, I have one tomorrow at 11. You guys are welcome to join.
I'm going to be there, they've already asked me to attend.
All right, so let's per everybody's point, let's just take that off the table for now because we're obviously not going to be able to explain it to everyone's satisfaction.
So that's the only new change to the top of the youth department. It's taking that back to 20 from 17. Anything else we agreed to?
Well, we only agreed to one thing at this point now, which is taking the cleaning down, the dog out, to the starts out.
Making it full-time. And we also changed the cargo shop.
No, we didn't, but we have to.
Yeah.
Or I guess, again, that would be another question for Mark.
I suggest we keep the budget as is, and we will see what happens with that, if that's okay. Because we'll have to make some changes.
But I think Mark should have a say in that, because basically, you can keep the person that you currently have, but you can legally only pay them for 20 hours a week. Or you can have a full-time person, but you have to hire them off a list, and the list for civil service, and I can provide this background as well to you, Tom. They're saying the list is good till at least 2021, which means, and they're not going to give a test for at least a year, which means you basically have two choices. You can have a full-time clerk, but you have to hire off the list, or you can keep the clerk you have, but she can only work 20 hours a week legally.
And we'd love to keep
20 or is it 29? I thought it was 30.
No, civil service, it's half-time. Anything over half-time is considered full-time.
If the youth department needs a special role for special skills and the different things that we're asking, you can also revise a civil service job description, or you can create a new civil service job description. And the conversation I had with civil services, that's not a terribly difficult thing to do, and the departments do that. And so there are other options too. It's not quite as black and white.
Have we been currently living within the civil service guidance of this position?
I don't think so, no.
Okay.
But for the future, in terms of budgeting for next year, which is what we're doing right now, we could budget full-time, and then if it doesn't work out, better to at least have had the money there, but if it does work out, the money was put into the budget.
I would like to keep her in her position and to be able to have a conversation with civil service to see what I could do, or we could do, or what we could come up with to keep her in that position and give her more hours. So.
Okay, civil service, what is that?
I think now you're starting to get into union issues, because if she's doing all the same work as every other account clerk, then she's an account clerk. I mean, you can't just...
And the account clerk would have to come from the list.
And a full-time account clerk would have to come from the list. So...
well, my gut says keep it as is. And did you take? You haven't adjusted that yet.
No.
All right, keep it as is. And we will see what we can actually do. If there is what Nick says is correct, or we'll find out. If not, you know, our goal is to keep the existing person and utilize her as much as possible. She's been fantastic in a short period of time. So. Any other conversations about the top, the youth department?
I mean, personnel.
Yeah.
No, just the...
Then we get into the summer,
Top section.
HYC.
Yep.
Yes.
Okay, summer, camp director, one person. Are the hours and dollars okay?
Yeah, that's me.
No. You'd be happy. Assistant directors, we have 3 assistant directors at $13 an hour, 25 hours a week, 10 weeks. Any adjustments?
Well, one thing that I would propose is that, and not even talking about the new rec level attendant for, but the current rec level attendant for isn't accounted for at all in the summer hours program. all 52 weeks are up in the youth department, but clearly the youth department shuts and Tyrone would be available to be at Oakdale. So it seems like he could be in fact one of the assistant directors. It just seems logical.
I agree. He is not included in any of this, but he's there every day.
Tyrone is not, wouldn't be a great person for that role. He has a really special set of values, and what he's normally utilized out of the summer is a greeter for everybody who comes, which is a really important thing because we have dozens of families dropping off their kids, busloads of kids coming at the same time. He's an amazing, he has amazing relationships with the families and the kids, and so he can immediately tell if something's wrong, if there's situations that we should deal with, and then he serves a supervisory role over one of the more kind of dangerous areas of the camp, which is pretty hard to manage, which is the driveway that comes right through the center of camp, where there's cars coming, there's kids running. It's a very difficult position to give to a new staff member, a young teenager, something like that. Tyrone is really the only person that I trust to do any of that work specifically, or I have in the past. And so I think that the folks who work directly under Nikki are people that she's handpicked with the skills to be an assistant director for her, for the camp. I think it's a very different set of skills.
But Tyrone is not accounted for any of the summer.
His hours are accounted for the entire year. They're just because he doesn't have a specific role.
In the summer.
Just like the clerk doesn't have a role in the summer, the cleaner, me, we're all just full-time people who are doing that.
Alrighty, any other observations or comments about the summer program?
Well, I think if we're in fact turning the cleaner/maintenance guy into full-time, then if he's going to be working 40 hours a week all through Oakdale, we probably don't need the extra maintenance person. I mean, camp's open 5 hours a week, he's got 8 hours, so he'll be there the entire time the camp is open, plus another 3 hours a day. That seems like it should be adequate.
He's actually not there when the camp is open. He has to be there either late at night after the kids have been and made their mess, or get there very early in the morning. Sometimes he comes at 4, 5 in the morning to clean all the bathrooms, clean the kitchen,
Okay, but
clean
in
up
any
everything.
case,
So it's
he's going to be full-time now, so that's more hours than he had last year, so.
only by 3, I think. And I think having maintenance people, I mean, we put a lot of our workforce and AmeriCorps employees strictly towards maintenance and grounds because we're operating on a 14-acre park that really doesn't have any other maintenance or janitorial cleaning kind of help. It's a huge amount.
Junior rec attendant assistants don't help with that?
No, they've got their eyes on the kids the whole time. I mean, they're supposed to obviously clean up if they see somebody drop a wrapper, but their job is to be looking at the youth and supervising the youth, not cleaning up, not doing maintenance, not doing any of that.
Right, so.
But is there a possibility, given the fact that, you've got like 2-to-1 ratios on many days, because as Nikki says, you have to staff assuming that everybody that signed up is going to show up, but that never happens. So you literally have a 2 or 3-to-1 child ratio, which is significantly greater than what's required. So I'm just wondering, can some of that extra...
Absolutely, they can do some cleanup, but they can't be counted on in the budget to do that cleanup. That's a totally different thing. And it's always surprising to me that we go through this at this level of detail and scrutiny when no other department comes even close to looking at the different employees. I think all of our city departments do a great job. We have a lot of employees working, and it just seems so it's confusing at why individual hours of junior rec attendants are picked apart and what they're doing at this level. It's confusing. But they absolutely can do some cleanup, but that's not what their job is, and we have to hire them on to work with you. We can't count on them being able to do that cleaning and maintenance work.
Also, Juan just doesn't do, at the summertime when we so-called shut the youth center down and we go to summer camp. It's not that he's just at summer camp, he also goes back to the youth department to do cleaning over there. because that's also open and we have programs that are going on at that time. So, it's not, so we need both.
And vice versa, in the fall and spring, when people are using Oakdale, nobody cleans that up except us. So, as soon as people get there in May, we've got to clean up after them, and there's still people using the facilities up until this point right now. So he's split most of the year between the two.
Registration, 2 people.
I assume one for each camp, right?
One for the up, one for the down. They take the registrations, they take my field trip forms, they're the go-to person on the bottom and the top.
Makes sense. I am curious about the lifeguards. What's the, I thought it was a 25-to-1 ratio for lifeguards?
It is. Is there any way we can cut?
13 lifeguards scheduled right now for, even if you had 250 kids, you'd still only need 10 lifeguards, so I'm wondering if we can.
Lifeguards that can only be on for so long though, and they have to switch, that's why that plays into it. I did print out a whole thing for you, I have it here somewhere.
Okay.
I just have to find it.
Yeah, you can give it to us afterwards. That'd be great.
But that's the.
Is there any way we can cut back on the lifeguards?
Like even 1 or 2?
1 or 2?
We were hoping for more lifeguards.
I'm not in charge of lifeguards, I'll just say that right out. They have their own director. So I can't speak to that really because I don't know the ins and outs. I know there's so much time on the chair, so many times off the chair. It's different for camp hours than it is for the other hours, so there's a lot of variables there.
The only thing that I would bring up is what we talked about in the last meeting was what we have budgeted for 2019, we still didn't take into accountable for the increase that we had from 17 to 18, and what is the increase that we're going to have to 19. So as far as eliminating 1 or 2 lifeguards, it's always going to go back to me with safety. I'd rather have those extra lifeguards out.
When my kids are in the water, the camp, I have 2 in the chair, I have 2 on this side of them, 2 on this side of them, and I have 2 out on the float. So they're kind of surrounded by lifeguards, and then I have my staff all on the beach watching. I mean, I just feel the water is the scariest thing to me, and it should be the scariest thing to everybody, and that's why it is. And I know for the weekends, we tried to do minimum there, and then we had a weekend where 70 people showed up on the beach.
Yeah, that's the tough call because, you know, we're dealing with a summer program for the youth department, and then we have the citizens of Hudson show up on weekends and after hours. And, you know, the decision I think ultimately has to be made is, are we holding the youth department because it's Oakdale Lake, but it's also, it's specifically for a summer program for the kids, and we want to give those kids as much protection as whatever. But when other people show up on a weekend or whatever, is that the responsibility of the youth department? Should that be charged to another department if you want to keep the lake open, you know, 7 days a week for the entire public? And being that all these charges are directly attributed to the youth department, but some charges may not directly affect the youth department. That's a conversation. That would be weekend lifeguards and the evening lifeguards, which we've added to this budget. Is that correct? We've added both the evening and the weekend, and they're all being charged to the youth department. Why they might not be there specifically just for the youth department. It's for the city of Hudson. And historically, has Oakdale Lake been open after the summer camp hours? Yes, but it was always swim at your own risk. And
well, no, we only had swim at your own risk 1 year, and then we were told that was illegal.
And then this year you have to have a lifeguard on.
It's no
last year was the only year since I've been there that they said swim at your own risk. And then they said they didn't know where that came from. Absolutely not, because the Department of Health gives us our permit that we cannot have anybody swim at their own risk.
Nikki, did the youth department supply lifeguards on the weekends for the public?
Yes.
And that was and in the evenings for the public as well?
Till 6 o'clock.
Till 6 o'clock. Okay.
But that was specifically called out as that, as weekend and after hours in the budget amendment from June or July of 2018 on its own line.
Yeah, lifeguard weekdays 2 to 6, and lifeguards weekends 10 to 4. And that's $13,000. And Tom, any thoughts about lifeguards?
Excuse me?
Any thoughts about the lifeguards?
The weekend lifeguards?
Or anything? I mean, do you agree that it's, well, I guess if we've always done it, it is a youth, it's a city lake. And, but we're specifically...
I agree, it should probably go under a different budget, but it's a little late in the game to do that.
Right, I mean, it's going to impact the budget as a whole.
No, I agree, it's not changing anything, it's just looking at a fair budget for the youth department. All right, concession. We've changed concession this year. We provide breakfast and lunch as a community, and the concessions there just as a, and that's break even now?
It's pretty much break even, so.
Yes, we don't do it.
Yeah, the school district provides breakfast
And lunch, and then the concessions just for anybody who wants to.
Right, but it doesn't really matter because the amount it costs to run the concession stand, we basically make that amount in revenue, so we can either take them both out or keep them both in. It really doesn't have an impact, so it just depends on whether you want to have a concession stand or not. So I assume you do.
Yes.
Leave it in. All right.
New cost for 2019. Should we look at this sheet? During the past several days, Tom, you have this sheet that we used the last meeting of the potential cuts.
Right.
Personnel services, extra lifeguards, $13,000. Would this be the 13,000 we just highlighted?
Yeah.
Okie dokie. Existing equipment costs of $21,500.
No, 89.12.
89, I'm sorry, running total. 8,900. And those existing equipment costs are what? You have, right, is this that?
No, it's basically starting with equipment costs that were purchased last year, or this year, but without any specific definition for what it's for.
I think I did give a specific in the last one that I gave you that talks about the different equipment. But sporting equipment, all the equipment that, whether it's from basketballs to games to equipment for the office, I mean, that's just the number that you're looking at there, an existing equipment cost. That's just what the youth department has gotten every year in the past as an existing thing. And everything past that, there's not only specific items, but also it's also itemized.
So the new tables, new chairs, rugs, carpets.
That's all past that, correct?
Replacement TV for the main space is $8,900. The new tables, wait, so.
No. Oh yeah, you're looking at this older one.
Yeah, and so the next line though is new tables. They're already included in this.
No.
Yeah.
No. They're included in that.
Not the 17,000?
Yeah.
All right, so new tables of 1,800. New chairs and couches, 2,200. Desktop for participant forms, 900. Replacement TV, 700. Color printer, 2,500. A new van, 25,000. That was my idea, and that's a tough pill to swallow with this increase. But we are getting the door fixed this year of the truck. Picnic tables, this is for Oakdale, 1,800. Storage and shelving, 800. Dedicated computer, 700. a new refrigerator for both, a refrigerator for Oakdale, $1,200. Maintenance of equipment at the youth center, a new refrigerator, $1,200. So those are particularly difficult. I spoke to Mark about that today. Bathroom stalls at $3,400. Bodywork on truck of $900. That'll be paid for this year. Contingency of $3,100. We decided that the contingencies, hopefully we're going to live with that, but you all will tell me if that you approve that. Roof work of $8,200 for the Oakdale facility. Electrical of $4,500 for the Oakdale facility. Bathroom stalls for the Oakdale of $4,200. A contingency of $2,500 and a contingency of light and heat for $2,500. If we removed all those, we're looking at a cut of $90,000, 89.8.
Can I just speak to the roof at Oakdale? That roof on that garage is about to fall in.
And every time it rains, we have to move the printers and computers at the beach house at Oakdale because of the rain leaking in through the seals. And I think
at our last meeting, we also talked about safety. So, I mean, with that roof being like that, it's a safety issue, so.
I think that the electrical would really go under safety issue too, for Oakdale.
Could you do without the contingency lines, since contingency is ill-defined, and then if you have a need, you can always come to the common council for that need? Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yes?
We don't generally have, there's contingency for the city as a whole for the budget, which can't be spent unless it's earmarked and identified. But we generally do not have contingency lines in the departmental budget, so I think we should take
Something.
that.
Yeah.
It's $8,100. Set it out?
But I would also,
I'm sorry.
I would also like to keep the, we need the refrigerator, the two refrigerators. I want to do this.
Yep.
Do we have a vote on that?
Let's go through this whole list again and vote on everything. The $13,000 for the extra lifeguards.
I thought we already decided we wanted that.
What's that?
I thought we already decided to keep that.
Oh.
Are we keeping it?
I mean, we could keep it
Yes.
for now and see where we end up.
Yes. All right. Existing equipment costs of $8,900. From that, what is that? It's not.
No, that was the pre-existing stuff. I think originally the budget was 55, and then there was money transferred into that. That got it up to the 8,900.
I'll just say that if you do cut that existing equipment cost, then all of that equipment that's taken out of there will have to be bought, which will then remove from all the other projects that you see in that line down the road, because we wouldn't have our existing funds to just cover the basic equipment cost for the department.
I'm just trying to keep track of what we've added. So the only changes we've made so far, in addition to the increases in revenue, are the cleaner, is that correct?
Yes.
Okay.
We're keeping the clerk as is for the time being. We're leaving the lieutenant level 4 position at 20. We've agreed to cut the contingencies out.
Okay, so let me work on that.
8,100.
Pardon?
Contingency is out to 8,100.
Yeah.
New tables, I'm sorry. New tables, $1,800. In or out?
We have to start somewhere, otherwise we're gonna have like a 10% tax increase, and that's gonna hurt. And people are coming out.
The tables are the priority.
Well, we did go through, maybe we should look at maybe we should look at it the other way, because in the last meeting, we did go through and identify several things that we identified as safety issues. So why don't we talk about those first, because I think those are obviously the most important issues, and make sure that we're all in agreement on those. Would that be okay?
Sure.
Okay, just give me 1 second to get these contingencies out. Conversations we had last time, these are the things that I had identified as agreed upon safety issues. The fence at the playground, the playground safety border, the decking for the dock, some portion of picnic tables.
We're finishing the basketball floor.
Yep.
Removal and disposal of chandelier for gym ceiling.
Yep.
Safety mirrors in the all-purpose room. Resupport falling retaining wall at the beach.
And
this one?
well, I also had I had the deteriorating fiberglass on the basketball courts and the resheathing of the basketball courts.
And we've just cited the roof work and electrical as safety items as well.
Okay.
So the roof work at $8,200 and the electrical work at $4,500 both go into the safety column.
I believe we also have the bathroom stalls in there too.
Those weren't identified as safety. I would identify them as dignity, maybe, something like that.
I think we're all in agreement that those all have to stay. Is that correct?
And that's adding the roof work and the electrical work.
Yes.
Bathroom stalls. Both Oakdale and 3rd Street.
I think Tom's word of dignity was a good word, and I don't think that any other part of the city would allow a the kind of condition of the bathroom stalls in both facilities to exist anywhere else on a city property. And to let the kids at the youth department be the ones who are the only people who would have to use those, and I think dignity was a good word.
So, we agree bathroom stalls stay?
Yes.
Okay.
So basically, that takes care of Oakdale maintenance of equipment, because we're basically leaving everything in there except for the contingency. So that one's done. So you want to look at youth center maintenance of equipment?
Sure. We just did partially.
Right. So in addition to the contingency reserve, we can take out the body work on truck, because you're doing a resolution to fund that for 2018, correct?
Correct. Well, it doesn't require a resolution. It's a
BEA resolution.
Yes.
So Tom, you agree with that?
Great.
Okay, hold on, let's get to it. Where am I? 945. Okay, so we're taking a whopping $938 out of that. Okay. So we're keeping the bathroom stalls.
Mm-hmm. We just on Oakdale now? Or
No,
just,
we're doing Hudson Youth Center maintenance of equipment.
okay. So the refrigerator, we decided we need. Bathroom stalls are staying in. The truck is this year. The contingency's going out.
Correct.
Everything else was decided as safety, the chandelier, everything else. So the only thing we've taken out of this is contingency. $3,100. Do we agree on that?
Yes.
Well,
I'm sorry.
I'm just looking at that top number of the 15,400 and wondering if we can take a little bit out of that since we're spending so much money on all the other stuff.
Hang on. Let's see, 15.
It's a 15.4, yeah.
Where is that?
The very top of.
It's right here on the top.
Oh, okay.
Keep going, Blake.
Here?
In the back, in the back.
Tom, what's that under?
This
The 15.4?
What, it's the pages aren't.
Oh, you're looking at his older budget, that's harder to follow.
Yes, it's this one.
Here.
And it's, the sixth to last page.
So this is just existing equipment and everything.
Back to see what it was.
Do we have any indication how much this was, or how much this is going to be this year?
About where they're budgeted.
15.4?
Well, it was amended to 24 actually. The money's
Does that
changed.
include the heating and the other things?
No.
Sorry? So this So you think we're running 15 foot now on this exactly?
Yeah, but I don't know what all that entailed, whether it was, let me see if I can look.
You're trying to figure out what the difference is between the adjusted and the original?
No, I'm just looking to see what all that was spent on, to see if, yeah,
15.4?
probably, because that also includes the water treatment for the lake.
Gotcha. So there's probably no wiggle room there.
Right, probably not.
Alrighty.
Okay, so that one's done. So for the contingency, right? Oh no, and we also took out the auto repair. That's for doing it this year.
The thousand.
Did you go to remove the truck? Not yet. We all agree that we're taking out the van that the mayor put in. You go talk to the car dealership in the corner.
I still will.
Where do I have that now?
That's 25?
No, I know, but where is it? Oh, 0.2, 0.3.
Alright, where are we?
Oh, let me just make these notes here. I'm trying to keep track of it two separate ways. Alright, what do we have now?
We've got equipment. New costs for Oakdale. We keep the storage and shelving in.
So really the things that are remaining that are possibilities are some of the youth center additional stuff, like the tables and chairs and TV.
Yeah, I don't think these are, I think some of this is not a priority. New tables, new chairs and couches. Desktop for participant forms. A new TV, a new color printer. The van we agreed to take out. Then we're back in Oakdale. Picnic tables, you're saying cut some of that back?
Well, when we spoke with Nikki, she thought that maybe there were 5 that were...
I would have to go up and look, but I know there's some that are just beyond repair.
Right, so...
I would estimate 5.
Okay, so if, and I think picnic tables, like a nice metal one that won't rot away, run $250, so if we assume 5 at $250.
550.
I think that this is based on an itemized list of child-approved tables for an exactly a situation like Oakdale. And I believe one of them is an ADA compliant. So the figure you have there was all based off an itemized list of,
Okay, how many tables were there?
I didn't have it, I don't have that with me.
Do you remember how much the tables were per table?
Again, I didn't bring any of that information with me, but they were probably in the $500 range, and I want to say that the ADA was closer to $800. Yeah, I think there's probably two at around 700 or 800 in there, and then 3 at.
So we have 14.
3 at 5.
140. But he's saying that they're going to cost more, and I don't. All I know is what I managed to look up, so
Gotcha.
I can't say I'm an expert on that.
And what's the total on that now?
The picnic table's
Yeah.
3,079.
3,000. Storage and shelving, 800. Do you want to keep it? Take it out?
I mean, just to give you a sense of where we are right now, with the cuts that we've made, if we want to stay within a 5% tax increase, we still have to find $163,000 to cut.
Or if we want to stand at 7.5.
It would be close. Basically, each percentage increase is approximately $50,000. But I'm just going to say, from my vantage point, being the one that, is dealing with people who can't afford their property taxes and being the person that has to be involved with them going into foreclosure, I'm hard pressed to be happy about that significant of a tax increase. Especially since we're also talking about, we've got a lot of seniors on very limited income, et cetera, and so forth. So I just want to make that statement.
Why don't you cut the other departments?
Yeah, and they get exemptions. My question to you is about that is what would be the actual number on, say, a $100,000 house after the mill rate at 7.5? What would be the actual cash increase per year?
Well, let's see. The mill rate's about $12.65 right now, so 1.175. That would increase it to 13.6. But it won't, because the assessment value. It's not an easy question to answer, because it's not really about the mill rate. It's about the proportion. It's about the assessed value of the property divided by the budget.
Right.
Because the mill rate is probably going to go down because our assessment's gone up so significantly. But that doesn't mean the budget goes up,
I get that, and that's why I don't really understand how you can say someone who has limited income, how their actual property taxes are significantly impacted by a 7.5 increase.
Well, their taxes would go up 7.5%. That's very straightforward. That's what it would be.
Based on what they're currently paying.
Yeah.
So if they pay, let's say $1,000, they'd have to pay what? More?
If they're paying $1,000.
$75? Okay. That's sort of my question.
Would you go to the city of Hudson and ask for a 7.5% increase in taxes?
I just asked the question, I'm not saying what I would do yet. I think we're still in the process. I think we can, and I mean, that is our limit, obviously. For those who don't know, the state has a 2% budget cap, tax increase per year, but because of previous years, we have some stored up ability to go up to 7.5. Is that correct?
Yes, and technically you have the ability to increase it even higher than that. You just have to vote to override the tax cap.
Yeah. However, of course, if we do the 7.5, you got to realize that next year we are then back to the cap of 2%, correct?
Sort of. Sort of.
Okay.
Yeah, it's an 8-step calculation, but yes, it certainly would not be nearly as high as it is this year.
Heather, that 168 number you gave, that has to be taken out of just the youth center budget?
No.
Nothing has to be taken, this is.
Out of everything.
But if that's the number you're looking for, that would be the
Right,
every
we've been-
city of Hudson budget?
Yes.
Yeah, trust me, we've been doing that over weeks now, at every minute.
I'm just trying to
Yeah,
understand
no.
myself.
Yeah.
that's all.
Just
Yeah,
trying
we
to
work
connect
with
it.
every department in cutting it back as much as
Just
possible.
trying to understand
Yeah.
myself.
So basically, every municipal budget, and actually the city has 4, people only ever talk about the general fund, but there's 3 other ones. Each one has to be balanced every year, unlike a public sector thing where ideally you have more revenues than expenses and you make a profit. Obviously, the goal of the municipality is not to make a profit, so the budget has to be balanced, which means however much money we've identified as revenues has to equal the amount of expenditures that we've identified in the budget. And so, you know, we don't have a lot of variability in our revenue. Most of the stuff that we have is pretty consistent. When Rick said earlier today, you know, we've already had lodging tax for all of 2018, so it's not like we're going to get a big bump like we did last year, which is one of the ways we were able to keep it down a little bit last year, the tax increase. So really, you know, it's either cutting expenditures or increasing taxes at this point. That's basically where we are.
And so far from this budget that we're reviewing, so far do you have these cuts that we've done?
I can tell you in a second. Cuts. Yeah, we, I mean, as far as I can tell, we've only cut 35.7. And 25 of that was the ban.
So 15.7. And at that rate, what is the department up against last year's original budget?
Just double check my numbers to make sure that I'm doing the right stuff. Let's see what the original is. 585. Change. And roughly roughly 32 versus the adjusted budget, excluding the donations.
All right. I'm sorry, what is the total now?
547,962.
And that is what percent increase?
Against original budget, 48%, against adjusted budget, 32%.
Okay, for clarification, indulge me in an exercise and go through every department so far and talk about the percentage increase where we stand.
No, I don't think you should do that. I think it's an unfair comparison.
No, I'm curious.
No, you're doing it for rhetorical purposes, I think. You are, Rick. This is a budget that has only started getting on its feet in the
We're
last couple
talking
years.
about the entire budget process, not just the youth department.
I understand that, but you're trying to compare this to other budgets that have been in play for a number of years at a certain percentage. you're trying to compare this to show that this one is really going up much higher.
Well,
It is going up.
I can tell everybody right now, it's that much higher. I'm just curious as to what, because we just made it a large adjustment to the police department. I don't know what that number is, of $50,000.
Okay.
I mean, we can do it if you want, I'm not sure, I think everybody here is pretty clear that not all the other departments pretty much just skin and bones, and so they're going to be substantially less than this, both in a dollar standpoint and a percentage standpoint, with the exception of the police, because...
What is the police now? Just do me the police. You have the adjusted on the police?
Yeah. I mean, they would be the,
Is this number you gave us earlier tonight, is that the adjusted? At 3.1?
should be, hang on, if I got that. They're at 31,948.
It's 2.9? Yes. Yeah, 2.9, okay. All right, bottom line. You done everything? You?
I mean, you know, there are these softer costs. You know, like the tables and chairs and things like that.
I'll go through this list again. Are new tables, yes or no? Up or down, yes or no, folks?
I mean, I would say out, because at this point, we're not even at the 7.5% increase.
But if I said we weren't.
No, I said we were close. But we're still at least $10,000, $12,000, $15,000 off even with that.
$1,800 for new tables.
Yes, please, my kids got splinters all summer long.
Sounds like new tables.
Tom and Heather?
Yeah, I mean, we don't want kids getting hurt, I get it.
Okay. New chairs and couches, $2,200.
I think we can get rid of those.
Okay, I agree.
Take that out.
Okay, just any time to do it, please.
Just to be clear, we kept the tables, right?
We did.
Okay.
We did.
So just bear with me. 200, so this is equipment. Okay, so we are... No, not tables, couches.
Tables we kept, 22 for the
No,
chairs.
tables we kept.
Yeah, 22 out for the chairs and couches. You ready?
Mm-hmm.
Desktop for participant forms, $900. What is that?
That allows parents or youth who are coming to the youth center to actually fill out forms when they get to the front desk on a computer. It would go right into our check-in system as opposed to filling out a paper form that then has to get converted by an employee. It's a way to maximize efficiency in the check-in system and programming.
I think we can hold off on that.
Replacement TV, what do you think?
Yeah, I agree.
Replacement TV, $750. Is the current TV not functioning?
Doesn't have the proper cables to hook up to audio-visual or different game systems, but it's not an essential.
Okay.
Color printer, do we agree, I'm sorry, do we agree that?
Yep.
Okay.
Okay.
Are you taking that out?
Yeah. We'll find one.
Well, you know, the other thing I would just like to say, and this is obviously a citywide thing, is we have multiple departments with giant copiers at huge rates, and it would be nice to see if maybe they could be, you know, a shared service kind of thing. Like DPW's got a honking color, do everything, staply print thing, and I don't think they use it enough that we couldn't find some time for the youth department to use it. So I would certainly be willing to try and broker that deal. My good
Color
friend.
printer out.
Color printer out?
Yeah.
Van, as we've already taken, is $2,500.
I'm still so far behind.
Okay, we'll slow down.
Hold on.
Take your time.
Where's Rob's printer, upstairs?
Mm-hmm.
What was that printer in the hallway? Used
Didn't you think that's the one that went to the youth department?
That's just what I would say, is that we kind of tried to go down this road last year in the budget.
Didn't work
And
out.
that was the negotiation that we ended up doing is, oh, other departments have printers, the DPW has a printer, let's give it to the youth department. I want to say we spent upwards of $600 on that printer, and it's worth probably less than 5% of the time. So it's actually been a big money sink for us. And the worry is just that what we do for printing, we get to the youth department, we have an activity, we need to print out posters. I don't think it's really feasible to send somebody up, ask permission to go to the DPW office, send it to their email, make sure their email came through and print something out there.
So we currently do not have a color printer?
We have like a desktop HP that needs a new ink cartridge every couple weeks at the rate that we do it, which costs about $90. It's a really inefficient system.
How about we ask Rob to give them his color printer and give him the HP desktop? I mean, what does Rob use it for?
They got all the mailings for water bills.
They're not in color, they're on color paper.
They're just on color paper.
I mean, they do the overwhelming majority of purchasing in the city, so all of that stuff has to be documented. I think that's what it's primarily used for. I mean, they have a lot of vendors and a lot of things to keep track of, but, I mean, I still think it's,
Are we keeping it in or out?
I would say out.
For now, yeah.
Okay, we've done the Oakdale, so, correct?
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Anything we not done?
Wait, what?
We didn't do equipment at Oakdale.
Did we not?
Picnic tables, yeah, storage and shelving,
Dedicated PC. You know they have to bring over all their,
yes.
I think that's insane,
yeah,
personally.
so it stays. Yes?
But will the PC stay there in the winter?
That's why it's dedicated, yeah. But that's just one. We'll still have to bring over the other three.
All right.
Alrighty, so we're keeping storage and shelving coming or going? Stay or leave?
I would say leave, just, it's not critical.
Dedicated PC, we agree we should have.
Wait, where are we?
We're in equipment Oakdale. 0200.
Sorry, I'm just getting, there's a lot of paper flying around.
Yeah.
Oh, there it is, okay, I got you. So,
Storage and shelving out, dedicated PC stays.
Okay.
minus 800.
Can you put some music in on these dope parts?
Okay, so that's...
Shores is helping out, you got a dedicated PC stage.
We're done with, I just want to go back for a second, sorry. So we're done with youth center equipment, correct?
Yes.
We took out we kept the tables.
We took out couches and chairs.
We took out the couches,
desktop.
the chairs, the desktop, the TV, the printer, and the passenger van.
Right.
Okay. And then Oakdale equipment, we took out storage and shelving, and that's the only thing. Well, we did move supplies to supplies, but that's irrelevant, because it just shows up as a different line item. Okay? Okay, and the new phone system, even though it's an increase, is a one-time increase for equipment, so that should actually drop down next year, so I think it's a good short-term investment. So it's just review maintenance of equipment again.
Starting with basketball floor.
Yeah, we had identified those as safety issues.
Right.
So the only things, and we took out the bodywork on the truck. The only other thing that's there is the refrigerator.
And we're keeping that in.
And I believe we're keeping, you need that desperately, right?
Yes.
So the only thing that we cut out of that is the contingency and the auto repair can be done this year instead of next year.
Correct.
Okay. Okay, let's do maintenance of equipment Oakdale.
Roof work.
The only thing-
Determined with safety.
Everything is safety.
With the exception we took out the contingency, correct?
Yep. So that brings us to training, right? I covered everything else?
Yes.
Again, safety issue, right? We need people trained, people working there.
$4,000.
No, we could take out one of them,
What's the new line added?
6,300.
Trauma training, workshop, and youth advocacy. So we're doing first aid, we're doing core competency. And we have done those in the past, yes. The trauma training, inclusive workshops, and youth advocacy is a new one, if I'm not mistaken.
I mean, obviously not as critical as CPR, things like that. I mean, what do you think, Tom?
What are these, Nick?
Those are just the basic trainings. There's nothing, there's no special stuff in there. All the trainings that we're just kind of looking to have annually for our staff. So there's the CPR components, the basic safety ones.
Right.
there's youth development, the core competency. These are what I want our staff, any staff, because we do have turnover rates. I want this to be just a regular thing so that every year we know all of our staff have at least been trained up into this level.
So the top two, these specifically.
Oh yeah, I think the top two were without question.
Yeah, absolutely. Where's that page? Oh.
What about the third line, Nick? Trauma training? Well, that seems pretty obvious.
It's pretty necessary with the youth that we're working with.
Yeah.
Understanding how trauma affects youth and how that affects how our staff work with them is, I mean, one of the basic things that school districts, youth organizations, everybody knows now. All school workers get that.
So we want to keep the training as is?
I mean, I think if the school workers train that way, we would want our people to be trained that way too.
Sure.
So training will stay as is? Everything taken out. New programming. We have 3 new programs. I'm sorry. Baseball program at $2,000, a fitness program at $1,300, and a film program at $3,500. The baseball program is to, from what I understand, solicit interest, new interest with the kids in baseball. How does that affect what the City of Hudson Little League does? Anything?
It's not at the moment. You know, when we first started, it's just to get kids interested in playing baseball again, and so that they're aware of how to have the fundamentals, and then they can move on into going into Little League if they choose.
And this will be taught during the summer program, or is it a year-round program?
It's going to start somewhere probably around January, February. So it'll be indoors, just doing the basic.
And the cost of equipment?
Yeah, it's getting balls and...
Who's the instructor?
Right now, it's going to be myself and Daryl Blanks.
Is there any chance this is something the Friends of Hudson could help with? Just asking. You can say that.
That's not something I can say.
Oh, that's true.
Any of these things are potentially, program things are potentially things we could or could not.
Right, no,
that's
true. You don't have your board here, I get it.
I can't, you know.
No, I get it. I think of you as Friends of Hudson, but I know you're not, you have a board. I totally get it.
So the next program is a fitness program for $1,300. This, I understand, is the program that's being done upstairs next to the boxing program.
Yes.
On the same days as boxing. Thursdays and Fridays, I believe. And that requires an instructor, and that's what this is. The $1,300 is for an instructor.
Yes.
And that's a specialist we bring in. This is not a rec attendant or anybody else. This is a specialist that, okay. And lastly, $3,500 for a film program. Film program is for both instruction and equipment, from what we've understood from the last one.
Yes.
Currently, we've had an instructor, but that instructor, we can't get someone to volunteer for this.
Not a small one at that time.
All right, so if new programming is $6,800, and I am all for programming, candidly. And last year, budget, we cut programming back. Do we want to stick with all this, or is there any revision to this?
Sounds good to me.
I would like to keep it.
Keep it?
Definitely.
Heather? All right, we're keeping the $6,800 in for now. Lastly, are we on with us still?
I'm just trying to do something so I can figure out what kind of tax increase we're looking at. And my spreadsheet that I had all set up is not open here, so So if I'm calculating correctly, at a 5% tax increase, we're still short $154,000. At a 7.5% tax increase, we're still short $27,000. And of course, anything in between those two ranges.
So we need to get 27 to get to 7.5, and how much to get to 5?
154.
Yeah.
Sorry.
That's a gift. That's not the manual. We're not talking about any donations.
No, we need a budget for this.
Well, you want to go through everybody again? I would like to get to a 5% max. 154,000. We're going to have to go through every department again individually. And if tonight I could suggest that we have an opportunity to meet again. If tonight's being belabored, we can certainly justify that. The critical date is the 10th of November, which we're prepared to do. We've already announced the presentation to the Common Council on the 8th, but that would be your all's consideration.
We're meeting again on Monday?
Tomorrow.
Oh, yeah. Sure.
What do you think, Treasurer?
Yeah, I mean, we're still not done, obviously. I mean, let's put a few assumptions on the table. We don't want to override the tax cap. Is that a fair assumption to make?
Yes.
Okay. So the question is somewhere between,
5 and 7.
we obviously can't go below 5. And we can't go above 7.5, and the question is how much are we willing to raise taxes to, versus what we can find to either increase revenues more or...
Yes.
I'll take another look at revenues tomorrow morning and see if I can eke something else out that looks not like we're totally trying to pretend.
When is a good time for?
A real day. Actually, not in the early morning.
Well, if I'm gonna take a look at stuff, I'm gonna need time anyway in the morning.
1 o'clock?
1 o'clock is perfect.
Is that all right, Heather?
I believe so. I think that's what my hands do now.
While scheduling has happened, I just want to thank everybody for the youth department, and also say